majestic ship sails on a calm sea with a pirate duck on the lookout. The duck's calm dissolves when it spots a wild Wario through the telescope. The Wario is crafty and eventually finds a way to flip the pirate ship. Welcome to a peculiar series beginning with a story about Wario bullying a few ducks. The first Mario game of 1994 was a weird one, and it was a good weird. I'm surprised this game was made at all, but I'm glad because it later gave us more Wario Land games. Yes, Wario Land. That's the main title of this game, and Super Mario Land 3 is just a subtitle. It's still on the Game Boy like the other Mario Land games. If you look at the cartridge box art, you might be very confused since Mario is nowhere to be seen. The opening cutscene within the game is confusing too. Will Mario thwart Wario again as he did in Super Mario Land 2? Let's start the game and see. The file select is 3 pipes, just like Mario's previous Game Boy game, except Mario still doesn't appear to go through one. You're playing as Wario in Wario Land. He appeared once as a villain, and now he's the hero? I still have no idea. Wario's journey starts on Rice Beach. Course 1 outlines many things you can expect throughout the game. Instead of question blocks, the blocks have faces on them. If the blocks are light with wide eyes, you can hit them from below to get an item, and then it becomes darker with grumpy eyes. This game definitely has personality. The blocks could contain a coin, a heart, or a power-up. Looking at the box art one more time, you'll see that Wario is holding a big bag, and it's implied that it's full of money. His main personality trait is money, and the game encourages you to collect as many coins as possible. Hearts are counted at the bottom of the screen, and collecting a heart from a block increases the count by 10. It also increases by 1 with every enemy defeated, and when the counter reaches 100, it awards the player with a 1-up as the number rolls back over to 0. We'll talk more about the power-ups from blocks shortly. Most levels require 10 coins to complete. The first level has a helpful mole pirate to open the door for you, and the wall shows you that you can press up and B to hold out a big coin worth 10. You'll also need this technique to activate any checkpoints you come across, and they're usually in a separate room away from the main level. You then have a chance to earn more coins or hearts at the end of every level. There is undoubtedly some skill behind the hearts minigame, but I wasn't really interested. I made sure to try all 3 courses, and instead went to the silly gambling game after every remaining level. Pull the left rope or the right rope. Wario will have one of 2 things fall on his head: a money bag doubling his coin total for the level, or a weight halving the total, rounding down for odd numbers. You can try up to 3 times, although the winnings are sadly capped at 999 as I found out. Maybe that's for the best, since you can't skip the scene afterwards where the coins are added to your total for the whole game. This total is capped at 5 digits instead. There's also a curious display below with the letters A to O. What could that mean? Rice Beach introduces all of the power-ups early on, and several courses contain all of them, so you can pick your favorite. By default, Wario has a short dash which can hurt enemies, activate blocks from the side, and break bricks in 2 hits. If you take damage, Wario becomes smaller and loses his dash, but can still break bricks from below, unlike Small Mario. The first power-up is the Garlic Pot, which turns Small Wario back into the default Wario. However, in his default state or with other power-ups, the garlic has the same effect as the Bull Pot. During my playthrough, I thought he was wearing a Viking cap, but it's apparently a hat with bull horns. Now he can break bricks in only 1 hit, and his dash lasts for longer, and he can stomp on the ground to cause enemies to tumble over. Enemies aren't defeated if you jump on them normally, unless you stomp on them as a bull. I enjoyed dashing around, but my favorite power-up is the Jet Pot. Wario's natural movement is faster, and he has a jetpack allowing for limited horizontal flight. The last power-up is the Dragon Pot, which I didn't enjoy as much because it has no dash capabilities, and Wario's slower movement feels clunky. The Dragon Fire is useful and quirky too. It eliminates enemies and bricks, it activates blocks, and it even works underwater like flex tape. I wish I could just hold a button for the fire though. If you press the fire button once, the fire lasts for a long time and prevents you from using other functions with that button, such as activating checkpoints and end goals. Every world ends with a boss, as seen in other Mario games. Power-ups may help you defeat them more efficiently, but those powers are never required. Usually they worked against me. On almost every boss, I had the wrong idea for how to fight it on my first attempt, and then defeated it with ease the next time. This shows me that the bosses aren't well designed. They could be slightly harder without wrecking the difficulty curve, and I prefer when it's more obvious how to fight, at least in a game like this. And they all make the same sound as the Metroids from Metroid 2, which is a very strange crossover. After Wario takes care of the spiked Koopa of Rice Beach, the next world opens up. He travels to Mount Teapot, which is a wonderful screen for the Game Boy. However, I had a suspicion about a level in Rice Beach, so I went back and discovered High Tide. Course 1 was now flooded, and the music changed to the beautiful underwater theme. I was more interested in Course 3 because I could tell there was some trickery going on the first time. The quicksand was now water, and that wasn't the only big change. There was a big skull with a keyhole at the beginning of the level. If you see a skull lock like this, you'll know there's a key hidden in one of the blocks somewhere in the level. Sometimes you'll find the key first, and then you'll know to look for the skull. Bring the key to the lock to reveal a door, that's not usually how that works, and inside you'll find a very special treasure. The treasure of course 3 is displayed over the letter A on the status screen. So there are 15 treasures and there's only one in the Rice Beach levels? Whoa, this game is longer than I expected. In fact, there are 40 courses in total. Some of them can only be accessed after finding a secret exit, such as course 6 hidden behind course 3's secret. That third course is a busy one. Now we can finally move on from Rice Beach and talk about other worlds. Mount Teapot has plenty of water levels and fortunately the water isn't boiling. There are more treasures to find and course 8 has a secret exit leading to an optional world. It's an interesting idea. If you take the linear path to finish Mount Teapot, you'll go to Stove Canyon, skipping from course 13 to course 20. Courses 14 through 19 are in Sherbet Land and there are treasures hidden there too. I don't really see the point of this world overall though. Ice levels have never been fan favorites, so it doesn't feel like a reward. The relatively high difficulty makes me wonder why the secret world is this early in the game. It also feels like the developers forgot secret exits were a feature of their game because they aren't seen after Stove Canyon. The SS Teacup is another world made of 5 levels and it's a ship that belongs to the pirates known as the Black Sugar Gang. Yep, some of those pirates are in fact ducks, which is a weird part of the story. Wario is exploring Kitchen Island to claim a shining statue of a certain princess, but these pirates got there first. They're all villains in a way, just competing against each other for valuable treasures. You can see how the money-loving personalities might clash. Without context, it seems like Wario is bullying these ducks for no reason, perhaps abusing his natural strength. By the end, however, Wario might not be as much of a villain anymore. The penultimate world is Parsley Woods, which includes the inverse effect of Rice Beach. Starting in course 31, you'll navigate through some water, but when you hit the big block at the end of course 32, a hole opens up on the world map for the water to drain out. Now, course 31 will be dry and play like a completely different level, giving access to a treasure just like we saw at the beginning of the game. After that, the world is surprisingly easy. There's an auto-scroller level on a train going left, and 2 levels later, an auto-scroll level on a train going right. While I'm impressed by the length of the game, it became slightly stale, and in this case repetitive. And it surprisingly doesn't get very hard. There were some random difficulty spikes early on, even course 4 could be a roadblock for some people, and the start of Stove Canyon springs to mind. But overall, the difficulty curve is not very steep. Before I move on to the final world, I want to talk about the game's soundtrack. I love music, and I make music on this channel, but I never seem to mention it enough during the retro reviews. This game was released during Nintendo's era of reusing the same melody for every level in Mario games. Super Mario World was this way, and we saw it again for Super Mario Land 2 on Game Boy. Super Mario Land 3, which you'll notice hasn't featured Mario whatsoever to this point, partially follows this format. A few level songs copy the melody of the main Wario Land theme, but for those that don't, there's one thing that makes this music sound like Wario's music. It's those crunchy low notes. The limited hardware offered a few different sounds, and the composers made the right choices. You're a greedy, goofy, mischievous anti-hero, and all you really want is money, even if you have to bully some ducks. And then there's the ambient theme, which has none of those crunchy low notes, instead going for high pitches. Oof, and it's a song that never really starts, yet it's used in 4 different courses. When you finish Parsley Woods, the only world left is Syrup Castle. Not all of the 4 levels are inside the castle, as some slowly chip away at the castle's defenses instead. Wario previously made an enormous castle level for Mario, and it's a level that everyone remembers. So this time his final level is also pretty big. It's nowhere near as difficult though. I guess that makes sense because this game is much longer before this point. It's still somewhat disappointing. There's actually very little challenge in this level besides the final boss. There's a mini boss in the middle, which is again shockingly easy to defeat after you see it once. At the end of the final level, Wario runs into Captain Syrup. Oh no, she has a magic lamp and she will make the genie fight you. We couldn't possibly have Wario fight a woman. The genie is a tougher fight and takes 6 hits to defeat instead of 3. There's some luck involved with flipping the lamp over to make cloud platforms, and it's by far the most interesting boss in the game. I died a few times and I wish I didn't have to play through the level again just to get here. There's a checkpoint, but there's still a long way between there and the boss. So that's a whole Mario game without Mario. Once you overpower the genie, however, the castle collapses completely, revealing a giant statue of Princess Peach. Captain Syrup built her castle surrounding it for reasons? It's a valuable treasure, I suppose, and Wario is seeking it too. But then, in the middle of the ear-splitting ending theme, Mario flies by in a tiny helicopter with a tiny magnet, and flies away with the statue. That's Mario's one cameo in the entire game, proving why his name is part of the title. Then it's Wario's turn to tell his wishes to the genie, except the genie tells him he needs money. Why does a genie need money for anything? So, it's time to trade in your coins accumulated throughout the game, and the hidden treasures will be added. Each treasure is worth a few thousand, and they're added in a confusing order. I thought I might max out my coins, but the last treasures were some of the least valuable. Instead, I had enough coins for Wario to get a castle, which is the second best ending out of 6 possibilities. He finally has his own castle, and no longer needs to take over Mario's castle as he did in Wario Land 2. What an interesting game. The idea is good, and in general it's all enjoyable, but I think it's too long, and I'm surprised I'm saying that for a Game Boy title. Or maybe it feels too long because the good ideas weren't utilized enough. I spent a long portion of this video covering Rice Beach because almost all mechanics are introduced there, and there's not much variety later. This game didn't show its full potential, but it showed how a villain could get his own series with some fun quirky features. Therefore, my final score for Wario Land Super Mario Land 3 will be 7.2 out of 10. It's the kind of game that would be good for playing over several car journeys to keep you occupied, while playing it in bigger chunks reveals some repetitiveness. I would still recommend this game though. It's good for all kinds of players, whether you want to search for extras or not. My favorite part of the game was probably looking for treasures, since those parts of the levels were very well made. To me, the explorations are more memorable than the standard level designs. Anything can be fun if you have the right power-up though. Sadly, there's no easy way to play this game now. Wario Land 3 and 4 are available with a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, but the start of the series is currently nowhere to be seen. The series even had an entry on the Virtual Boy, which may also arrive on Switch before the original game. Wario wasn't as popular as Nintendo had hoped at release. Unfortunately, I can't find sources for any Famitsu magazines in 1994, but their reported average score was 6.25 out of 10. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave 7s across the board, and their main complaint was that they wanted something like this on the Super Nintendo. That's not fair to this game. I do agree that it's on the easy side though. Nintendo Power put Wario on the front cover, which he probably deserved, and gave his game a respectable total of 15.6 out of 20. Tell me, did you agree with the points I've made? What rating would you give Wario Land Super Mario Land 3 for the Game Boy, initially released in 1994? Hit the like button before you dash away, and subscribe for a free jetpack. Hey, I didn't say it would be functional. As ever, thank you for watching, and please continue to be your own unique self.
Whack, whack, whack.